Welcome back to the show, guys. This is Andrew Hines coming at you here from the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. And I know you thought you might never, ever hear anything on this channel again, but I'm here and we're going to be doing a little bit of a mini series. So no, we're not fully back, but there is a mini series coming. So stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this. I am going deep on US investing. I get so many people asking me about this. I know it's such a hot take for so many people because let's face it, Canadian real estate investing in general doesn't work anymore. We have obviously squeezed margins. We've got landlord-tenant board interference. Provinces like BC and Ontario generally kind of forget about it. Obviously, Alberta, still some opportunities there, and there's still some opportunities in alternative investments. Don't get me wrong. But generally speaking, for most, it's kind of dead. The traditional model of buying a house, doing a renovation, doing the BRRRR, those seem like ancient ideas at this point. It just doesn't work the way it used to. And this is why so many people are pivoting to the US. So I figured, why not dive into that? So rather than the old interview style that you're used to hearing from me, I'm really just going to focus on what I'm doing, focus on the opportunity I see and the general disparity in opportunities, one versus the other. Yes, you can get creative in either market, but we're going to drill in to what the US has to offer. All right. So firstly, let's just dig into why it is that Canada in general doesn't work. I would say the first and foremost biggest reason for most people is they've seen cash flow disappear. That's largely due to the higher interest rates, and rents have now been forced down a little bit in the market. So those two things have really eroded most people's cash flow and put a lot of people in a position of hurt. And then you factor in the fact that people aren't getting the appreciation they used to, and we've got that trifecta, we'll say, that really just makes it unappealing. And you can't really get that creative in Ontario residential real estate. There's other things you could do, but I'm going to get into some of the creative stuff we're doing in the US, including a property I just bought. We put about $14,000 down. This thing cash flows about $250 a month, and we've got a mortgage for 26 years. Yes, 26 years, not a 5-year term. 26 years at 2.85%. Oh, and we bought the property significantly undervalued. That's the kind of stuff that I get excited about, and I want to share that with you. Share how you can actually go down this journey, start investing in the US yourself, even if it's something you thought was way too big or too hard or too much to do. There is a way. Sticking on point here, why is it that investing in a place like Ontario has become a problem? Well, as you guys know, I was a heavy student rental investor. I am still invested in my commercial hospitality properties, which those are kind of awesome. But in general, with the residential, I started to see some serious concerns. So one, not having appreciation when you're flipping properties, and I've flipped in Ontario, adds this whole layer of risk, because if your renovations are off a little bit, or if you find a surprise, in the past, I would be saved by appreciation. Not going to happen anymore. That's why a lot of people have sort of taken their foot off the gas pedal with flips. But the other part is I wasn't able to buy as aggressively low in Canada as I am able to do in the US. And largely due to the freedom of information down there. It's just so easy to get information. I can find a seller's information and their name, and then I can look them up, call them, and negotiate to buy the property directly. And because of this, we're able to buy properties, somewhere around 60 cents on the dollar for houses, and then land we're buying at like 50, 40 sometimes cents on the dollar. And sometimes a little bit more too, if it's a great property and we really know we can sell it quick. But we're getting those kind of margins, which I just don't know how you would do that in Canada from a flipping perspective. And if cash flow is not going to work, what are you going to do? Well, flipping is like sort of the next thing you can do with residential real estate or any kind of real estate really. But again, the opportunity just seems greater in the US for a number of reasons. All right. So let's go over why is it that the US is such a great opportunity. Well, first off, let's get the simple information out of the way. First off, it's a crazy big country from a population standpoint, from a number of largely populated cities standpoint. You've got many different states that all have their own flavor, but any one of those states I shouldn't say anyone, but many of those states, you could just make an investing home for your entire career. You wouldn't need to travel outside of those states and look for other places to do business. And I think Florida is absolutely one of those. We've ventured out into Florida and Georgia. And we've done a number of deals in other states as well, but with our primary focus on Florida and Georgia, because that's plenty right there. There is a lot going on in those two states alone. And they're both pretty conservative. The difference between them just being really the average price point that you're getting into for the most notable difference. The next obvious thing to mention is cash flow. You can still cash flow in the US. There's many states that you can go to where you can still put a cash flowing deal together. Do you need to be creative? Generally, yes, but you can definitely still do it, especially if you're willing to go rural. We actually tied up a property. This was crazy. It was $18,000 for 2 houses side by side in Mississippi. The name is escaping me right now. We didn't do the deal because we couldn't get a property manager to actually go to the house. We had somebody on our team stop by and take some videos, and the cash flow would have been obscene. We worked out a cap rate of over 60%. Yeah, 60%. Usually people are under 10. More like 5, 6, 7. So it would have been wild, and we could have done that deal. We just, quite frankly, weren't comfortable with the area. We weren't going to go out on a limb for one property in that area. It was just sort of an accidental lead that we got. But that's doable. That's one example. And then, of course, there's this subject to property that we just bought. And I'm going to explain what that is and what we were able to do. Being Canadians, not having any statuses in the US whatsoever as of this point, and just basically taking what we knew from Canada and getting really curious about what they're doing in the US and applying those things. So I absolutely love this subject to idea. So I'm going to just go ahead and show you what you did. So for the people who are watching on the YouTube version, good for you. You get to check out the spreadsheet here. So this is a deal. We literally just closed this last week. These are real numbers, actually kind of conservative. I'm hoping we do a bit better, but is what it is. It is a house, single family, sort of like a raised ranch look, 1960s build in a place called Cleveland, Tennessee. Tennessee, not Ohio. It's right on I-95 or 75. I think I'm mistaking. Yes, I-75, which is huge major arterial route heading straight from Detroit all the way down to Miami. So it's a road that I've driven many times in my life going down to Florida. And we're not far from Georgia or from Chattanooga, and this city itself has a decent population, not huge. This isn't a town I would typically flip in, but to own a sort of stable rental product, I think it's perfectly fine for that. So we picked this thing up for $175,600. So that's a pretty crazy number right there, just for what you're getting. So it was approximately 1,200 square feet, 3-bed, 2-bath. Really low expenses. I was kind of blown away by this. Property taxes coming in around $775. I'm budgeting $1,800 for insurance. I don't know if that's our exact number. And then being conservative on the maintenance and management, we did get a quote for 9% on the management, so we know that's what we're paying. Maintenance, we're just budgeting for an older house. There's going to be some stuff to do, and we're also budgeting for $10,000 up front. Just $10,000, quick renovations to get this thing up and running. So here's the really big benefit. We've got this $164,000 mortgage, 26 years left on the amortization for a monthly payment of $740. So my mistake. Cash flow here, I've been playing with these numbers earlier. So it's right now looking like it's going to be about $215 a month. And what's our investment look like on that? It's about $27,000 after you factor in the down payment and the renovations and us paying our acquisitions agents. So we have acquisitions agents that work for us. We pay them. So we're paying our guy just about $2,200 for his work. So it works out well for them. And then, of course, we had some more expensive legals on this one. I actually worked with a title company I hadn't really worked with much before. Worked out a bit more expensive. So what to like about this deal? Well, number one, going down to the total return, we're coming in at right around 38% return on investment here. So how many deals are you doing that are getting 38%? I've not been able to find deals doing 38%. And yes, we did buy this off market, and no, you're normally not going to get something like that on market. But this is the kind of thing I get excited about. Anything once we're past 30% ROI, I'm interested. Like that used to, going way back in Canada, that used to be my benchmark. Can I do 30% on my money if I'm putting money in? And in this one, the answer was yes. And would I do deals like this? in higher volume, of course, we want lots more of these. So we're incentivizing our team to go find more of these. Just breaking down how that return is calculated. So we've got mortgage pay down every year. So even though we bought this subject to, which means we took over payments on the seller's mortgage, his name's still on it. The mortgage is technically still on title, still recorded against this property. But we're still going to get the benefit of when it pays off. We also have the appreciation that we're factoring in here. And the reason I factored in 2%, I normally wouldn't do that, is this property at face value should have been over $200,000. So there was built-in equity when we bought it. So I just threw the 2% in there because realistically it's worth quite a bit more. We could actually even go higher than that because that's only $3,000 a year. And then of course, cash flow at $25.82. So is this a mammoth deal? No, not at all. But is it a great proof of concept and a great one to just add in the portfolio and add more to? 100%. So that's just one of the opportunities. And, why is this different than Canada? Well, I'll tell you right now. These sellers, we either get from a cold call campaign where we just download records of all these people who own houses, specifically in the neighborhoods we want. We can target by tired landlords using a tool called PropStream, where we'll literally just hit tired landlords. So people who own multiple properties, they live out of state, you can set the criteria how you want, or use their proprietary methodology for finding them, which we usually do, and it works out well. And basically, we call them. We call them up. Are you interested in selling your property? They say, yeah. They get on the phone with one of our acquisitions people, and we close them, and we do great deals. Otherwise, we do something like Facebook Marketplace. And yes, you can do that. Sorry, Facebook ads. Yes, you can do that in Canada too. However, in Canada, your ability to really get people to come down isn't the same. In Canada, your house is like all you're worth, like for so many people. It's everything they've got. They're highly emotional about it. They're not willing to walk away from it, and they're going to be more sticky on their price. Whereas in the US, we've been able to get people to concede on their price quite a bit. And then, of course, we're also in price points where the deals work. I'm not really interested in flipping a $900,000 deal for a $50,000 to $60,000 profit. I'd much rather flip a $200,000 deal for a $30,000 profit. That's way less exposure for me. So that's sort of how I'm thinking about it. I feel much more comfortable doing it at small numbers. Back in London, when I used to flip student rentals, I'd be buying them for 200, putting in 200 on top of that, and then selling them around 600. And there was a margin in there. There was money in there to be made. There's enough money for the realtor to make money and for us to make money. And then that all changed. So I'd much rather do this type of project in a place like Tennessee or Georgia. I really like Georgia. The contractors are very reasonable. Or Florida. Florida's cool too, but Florida, we do find the contractors charge quite a bit more. Prices are higher across the board for just about everything. I love Florida, but that's just the reality of it. So it's cool that we have a little bit of exposure to the different states. And then of course, if you're in Florida and you want to do houses, for rental and such, Jacksonville can be kind of cool. Tallahassee is something that's on our list. Haven't done anything there yet, but Jacksonville, definitely, you're going to see some prices that are very, very affordable, relatively speaking, when you're comparing to what we pay in Ontario. We're talking, we got a house tied up right now. We're just buying it. It's a flip property we're going to do. This property was bought like 3 years ago for $240,000. And we just picked it up. It's in like brand new condition, renovated for $144,000. We're literally not even going to renovate. We're going to do a couple of things, little cosmetic, couple of pieces of paint, or a couple of areas that need some paint on the outside of the building, a little landscaping maybe. And then we're going to list it for sale. I mean, buying a house in a major city, and granted, it's Jacksonville. I know. Jacksonville, you could go to the wrong areas. Don't get me wrong. But it's still a great city, and it's still a very stable city for a lot of investors to invest in. So, that's an awesome opportunity. And then I'll give you another example. This is a deal we did really recently. We bought, I might as well screen share here. Let me just switch this over. I put this together the other day, and it's just a couple of recent deals, like a little bit of a mixer plate, if you will, of deals we did. And this one I really liked, so I thought I'd share it with you. This is a piece of land, just like a little 5-acre piece of land. And when you're thinking flips in Ontario, like first off, land, not going to happen because the ability to find land sellers, the only way I've got to find land sellers that's predictable is through cold calling. So we just go on the PropStream. We say we want lots that are between 3 and 10 acres in Gilchrist County or whatever county we're working in. And then we just pull a bunch of records, send it off to the cold call company. They cold call them. They send us the leads. This came up just that way. This guy said he wanted to sell 5 acres. We bought it for $46,000, which is kind of expensive for 5 acres, but this county moves, like the land really moves there. We owned it for 37 days and we spent $4,600 on land clearing. So we just cut a path in. So if you're looking at the video version of this, we cut a path in from the road into this clearing area. And that was it. So just nice clear path. We cleared a little bit in this area so you could see where you would put your house. And that's what we do now as a consistent thing. We do land clearing enough that we can paint a picture. Where would your house go? And that was enough. We immediately got an offer. The guy was willing to negotiate. We went back and forth. We bought for 47. We sold it for 79.5. After all the realtor fees and closing costs, that worked out to be 71,000 that we got from the title company when we finished. And then of course, just net off the $4,600. We made $19,000. Just a very quick, easy flip. We actually went out of metrics for that one because the sales comps were so strong that I felt really comfortable. The less comfortable I feel about the sales comps, the cheaper I got to get the deal. Naturally, right? Anyway, so I got some of the HUD statements here. You can kind of just see. So this is sort of how I track, is a deal profitable? How much money did I send to the title company? What was the wire I sent? What was the wire I got back? That's really all I care about. And then in there, they do the tax adjustments and the prorations and all that stuff. So that's cool. So anyways, that's that one. Here's a deal. I've spoken about this one. This is just another random one. But this is a deal we did in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It was a house that was pretty much good to be a teardown, but you could also renovate it. But just given the amount of new houses in the area, we had a strong feeling that it would be bought as a teardown. I've told the story of this one, so I'm just going to give the high level. This one we bought for $750 from a guy who just wanted to move out of the country. He was a cold call lead. We just pulled a list of cold call. I don't even know what our criteria was on this list, why we got this guy. I think we were scratching our heads about it back then. But anyways, yeah, he had this property. He wanted to sell it in Fort Lauderdale. And we love, that's a strong city. So took the deal. We originally tied it up for $800 after the guy said he wanted $1.1 million, which realistically at the time was probably close to market. We took it for $750 after renegotiating down after viewing the property another $50. So we had it at $800, got it for $750. And then we just cleared it out. So we had some expenses cleaning it up, clearing out some garbage. Worked out to be about $8,500. Biggest expense on that one was, $41,000 in interest costs because we borrowed the money to carry the property. We ended up selling it for $935,000. And all said and done, we cleared, after paying our agent who made like $13,000 on it for the deal because they get 10%, we cleared about $121,000. So that's a mammoth. That's like a grand slam home run deal. So that's not your everyday deal. Like that's just awesome. And we did break metrics for that, but we also knew that we didn't have to renovate it and the demand was strong in the area. There were some wild stories about that one. I could do a whole episode on that one, which I'm not going to do right now. All right. So here's another cool one. I really like this deal. This is the creativity gap, the what you can do gap. So I've told you about sub 2. So we're able to buy a property and take over somebody else's mortgage payments and they stay on the mortgage. Do you think you could do that in Canada? I'll give you the answer. Absolutely not. I talked to my buddy's a lawyer. He's like, yeah, I totally get the strategy. Like we could never do that in Canada. He's a real estate lawyer. Like we could never do that. So right off the hop, I don't know, maybe somebody can get around it. I'm not saying that that's for sure, but I know the general vibe I've gotten, feedback I've got. No, you're not doing that in Canada. Well, this is almost better. I mean, I really like sub 2, but this is almost better. Double closes. A double close is something that we use a lot in our business. And a double close is when you buy a property and then you basically just, you buy it under contract and you get the right to market that property for sale. So we write in the offer that we have the right to market for sale. And we have the right to basically close on it and then sell it to somebody else. So basically, we just get permission. We have a right to list it with a Florida licensed realtor or a Georgia licensed realtor, whatever state we're working in. And then we just go ahead, put it up on MLS. And this deal was particularly unique because this is an old gravel pit. It was in Georgia. I saw a ton of liability there. You have giant holes that would cost millions to fill with dump trucks and backfill and all that. And so obviously never going to do that. What's something like that worth? No clue. And the realtor didn't really know either. They thought, hey, I think it's worth 40, 50. I think so, but we don't know. So we got it under contract for $12,000. $12,000. But I'm still not going to take that risk because I've bought other really cheap properties that just sit. So I needed something better than that. So we had our agent go back to the seller and negotiate, okay, we'll pay you a bit more if you'll give us time and let us market the property. They agreed. We bumped the price up to $14,000, and we had it sold pretty quick. We had it listed probably for like 30 days, then sold it. I love deals like this. So here's how the costs break down. So we had due to buyer on our purchase $14,966. Due to seller, we had $34,522. So we basically make the spread. A couple of costs that we have: allowance for notary at $130, which we've since worked that out, so we don't have that cost anymore. Interest holding costs, even though we just did this for a day for our own internal profitability calculations, we already hold the money and borrow it and make payments on it. So we just budget 45 days of interest for any deal we do at a minimum. And that's what that is. So really nothing significant in terms of expenses here. And those are both sort of accounting entries. So what's left? $19,000 prior to paying our agent. We paid him 10%, $17,000 left for us in that deal, a deal that we took no market risk on. I didn't have to risk wondering, is it going to go up and down, or up in value, down in value? Are we going to get our money out? All that would have happened if we didn't sell it is we would just release the contract and move on. We wouldn't be losing anything. Yes, there's always other risks, like outside of market risk. There's litigation risk, or if somebody gets mad, or just general transactional risk, conduct risk. If people get upset with our dealings. But generally speaking, we've had really great luck there. We are very transparent with sellers. We're going to list your property. You never want to hide that, otherwise you will definitely get some angry people. We tell them we're going to work our network. We're good at marketing these properties, and we are. And yeah, this is a perfect example of getting them sold. We just sold another one just like this the other day. Not a big profit, but when we take no risk on it, it's just like, hey, that lead could have been nothing, and now we made $10,000 on it, or now we made $20,000 on it. And I like those deals. So anyways, that's just a sampling of the opportunities that exist in the US, the creativity factor and the flexibility that you have, and plus just the sheer number of creative A-type people that are going out there and figuring new ways to do things that you can just learn and then apply is it's mind-blowing, quite frankly. I absolutely love it. I really, really do prefer to do business in the States in general. Like I said, caveat being, of course, I have my Canadian investments in hospitality, and those I think are really awesome because we're totally outside of the Residential Tenancies Act and all that stuff. But if I just had to pick a place in general to do business, I love the opportunity here. All right. So why are Canadians not doing this, or why are more Canadians not doing this? Well, I have a couple of notes here. One, I think fear of the complicated, fear of the unknown. Is it too complicated? Oh, that sounds like a lot of work. I don't think I could do that. Really, frankly, couldn't be further than the truth. It's actually very simple once you know what to do. But yeah, if you don't know what to do, it's going to be tough. The myths. So you need U.S. credit. Absolute myth. I'll get into that more. You need to move there. You need to be able to oversee your properties. I have literally not been to one of the properties that we've flipped since Matt and I have been working together. So we've been working together for a year and a half. We've done a ton of properties, and I've never been to any of them. Wow. So we really have focused on building teams. Lack of knowledge. So I think a lot of people, they're missing critical pieces, and there's two critical ones that in this mini series I'm going to dig into. One is FIRPTA withholdings. The other is the double taxation risk for Canadians. Those are real risks, but I've spent a lot of money and made mistakes and gone through process and have literally been investing in the US since 2012. And I've learned a few things. I'm going to share those with you on later episodes, but are those things to stop you? Absolutely not. There are things that you can mitigate with knowledge, and we're going to dig into that in a coming episode. And we've had a lot of people who've, they thought it was too hard, jump on a call. Like I've done some coaching with people who've just booked calls with me wanting to invest in the US. And that's part of what inspired me to do this series because people just want to know, hey, what do I need to know to get started? Like, what's the entity setup? Oh, I'm going to dig into it deep. And I also will be giving away a really, really awesome blueprint for setting up entities in the US for those who are interested. So stay tuned for a future episode. I'm going to make that available. All right, so recap, Canada's margins are dead. Generally speaking, there's always exceptions to every rule. I'm just saying, if you're starting from scratch, there is one place that's very clearly better to do business, even and especially as a Canadian. And that's the whole spiel. That's the focus of this series, is we're going to be talking about that. So what I want to invite you to do is, number one, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast right now, because you're not going to want to miss what's coming. And that blueprint that I'm going to be giving away, the playbook for setting up entities in the US, I spent a lot of time on it. It's pretty incredible. I would probably, in normal circumstances, be selling this for a pretty good buck, but I'm making that available for my loyal followers and listeners here. You're going to like it. Definitely stay tuned for that. I'll be dropping how to get that on the next episode. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed, and please send this episode to somebody. Let them know, hey, we're back on. And I'll probably be doing more mini-series like this, but it's just going to be more as I go, as I find an interesting topic I think is worth digging into, we'll do an episode. So I'm going to reactivate the channel. It's not dead. We're bringing it back to life after over a year. It's been over a year, last August to this September. So just 13 months away. And appreciate all of you for coming back and checking this out. I can't wait to dig into the next episode. So I will see you there.